you guys want to cover the Soros book at all?
Yeah.
Let's
bring it up. Let's talk about it.
This is your new book. Tell me.
Yeah. So I guess I'll give you kind of an overview of how it came about, and then I'll go over the contents and all that. So I've been the first book I did with my current publisher was called Spygate. Oh, yeah, I should probably speak into the mic.
Get close.
So it was called Spygate. Me, Dan Bongino, and another woman named Denise McAllister wrote it, and it was. I mean, it covers all the Russiagate stuff. It starts pre-election and then goes into sort of the Mueller special counsel. He made it into a trilogy, so he did 2 books after that on his own. One that's more all special counsel stuff, and then the last, which is just sort of everything after that. So there's a chapter in the 3rd book in the series called, or I can't remember the name of the chapter, but it has a lot to do with Ukraine and the whole impeachment hoax. And there was some sort of like Soros ties into that chapter. So there's a number of Ukrainian anti-corruption organizations that are Soros-backed that were actually cited in the whistleblower complaint, and then a lot of like the sort of swampish characters in the impeachment saga are connected to U.S. institutions, obviously, that are also sort of tied in with Soros. So he pitched the idea of doing a book where that was sort of just going to be our starting point. Was let's try to do a book based out of that section of his last book. So I put together a pretty lengthy chapter. I think it's like 15,000 words, which is, I'd say half the length of a very short book. But obviously that itself is not going to be a book. It was, really as much as I could do was that much, given the content, or given what was available. So it just became a question of like, well, what do I want people to know about this George Soros guy? And I sort of settled on everything. So I started just by making it into a more or less a critical biography. So I started out by just giving, a overview of this guy's life, who he is in his own words, where he came from, how he made all his money, what it was that made him want to go into politics and influence that. And then each chapter is just sort of a, I try to make it like a biography / novel / reference book. So each chapter is just a different facet of life. So I'll have one called Soros in the Media, and it's just here's literally every person in the media I could find that Soros is connected to, either that he's associated with publicly, that that have worked for his foundations to varying degrees, and here's where they work today. And it's places like the LA Times and NPR and the Washington Post, MSNBC and CNN, and pretty much every quote unquote mainstream place you could list. And then it's just doing that for everything else. So I do one on his quest to sort of infiltrate higher education. I guess in his view, college isn't liberal enough, so he's trying to sort of. Actually, this is a more recent end of life sort of thing he's doing. Is he's been creating his own network of colleges internationally. And this dates actually back to the 80s. He started a college called Central European University in Hungary. Was later expelled from Hungary and is now in Vienna. But he's sort of starting to build a network around that in recent years. And then I just do this for everything. So I found, for instance, I have a whole chapter on leaked Soros documents from WikiLeaks and DC leaks and just everything to be gleaned from them. And then his connections and like just random,
What's his goal?
Well, it's to a large extent, it seems to be influence for the sake of influence. He is one of those people that not to sound like Ted Kaczynski or anything, but the power process is very important to him. In his own words, too, he describes himself as an egomaniac. He says he wants his views to be the conscience of the world. And it just seems like, from his perspective, he just kind of gets off on influencing things. The most interesting thing about the book, too, is like, some people, I know it's going to be called the hit piece, but most of the negative stuff that I say about Soros and his personality is quoted from him. I read all the guy's books in preparation for the book, my own book, I mean. The only thing he's walked back on was there was a very, infamous or famous interview he did with 60 Minutes back in the 90s, where he admits to working with one of the Nazis' Jewish councils back in Hungary, serving deportation papers to Jews, telling them their goods are going to be confiscated, and very sociopathically says that it's something he never felt any guilt over. That's the one thing he sort of tried to reverse course on, and if you ever do a Google search for that interview, they're always playing cover saying, oh, it's actually not really what he said. And the interview is actually kind of hard to come by online, too. So, I mean, I'm not saying
he's
the guy's...
the kind of guy who's got legal resources.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's censoring the internet. However, he has a lot of influence, and he easily could reduce its reach tremendously. So I actually found the transcript, and...
Oh, yeah, no.
And it's more or less exactly what he says. And not only did I find the transcript, George Soros' father wrote an autobiography. He talks about the same influence and it said that his son seemed to enjoy it and he tried to dissuade him from it.
You remember when I think it was Newt Gingrich was on Fox?
Yeah,
and he mentioned like George Soros funded these DAs.
And you're out.
And Fox was like, we don't accept that. You can't say that.
Yeah. So
they had to apologize.
Yeah, the only other two people I had review the book besides Dan were Newt Gingrich and Steve Bannon, actually. And Gingrich obviously liked it, and I'm sure I'll make a joke about his Fox appearance next time I see him or talk to him. But yeah, that was very odd. I mean, I'm actually going to be on Fox hopefully to talk about the book. So
there you go.
Hopefully they'll let me talk about it. But yeah, that's just a sort of general overview of the whole thing. And
is it out now?
So it should be out in December. Potentially might get delayed because we're nervous that we're going to get sued, not like a legit case, but just to sort of F with us and cost us money. Because the libel laws are such, like I could literally accuse this guy of murder in the book and I can't. I would win a lawsuit just because of how high profile he is. But anyway, we're still doing a legal review just to like get even that possibility out of the way. And the lawyer, like I'm sort of paraphrasing, but he was like, really good book, interesting, really well researched. You're enough of a dick where it could get you sued. So they highlight it all, and I have to undickify the book. But hopefully it won't get delayed more than a week or two.
Are people able to pre-order it?
Yeah, so it's on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and then I think all those other random sites like Books A Million or Target, it's probably on there too. But Amazon's the big one.
Give me the name again.
So it's called The Man Behind the Curtain, the secret network of George Soros. And I'll tweet about it, and I'm sure you guys will get it as well.